Hi there, Ashley Pfeiffer of Stamped AF coming at you for another weekly video. If you are new here, this is your first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button below. I do a new video each and every week. This week we are going to do a fun Halloween themed card as Halloween is drawing quite near. But there are a couple things I just wanted to discuss before I flip this around and we get our craft on. There are a couple of things going on. I think I just said that. Paper Pumpkin, if you have not subscribed yet and you live in Canada, please consider subscribing with me. The link is on my website. It's about halfway down my page. You'll see the Paper Pumpkin logo. November's kit looks like a super fun holiday themed kit. And not only will you get that, you'll get a special gift from me. And as this video goes live, my online class is still available until October 21st. Excuse me. Excuse me. And that is using the Making Christmas Bright and Making Everyday Bright. So if it is prior to October 21st when you are viewing this video, feel free to stop on by my website and read up on my online class. If again, if you live in Canada, because I can only sell product within Canada, there are a few different bundle options that you can purchase. And if you live outside of Canada, you will get the, it does say the PDF version, but I will do a video tutorial. So if you live outside of Canada, you can purchase the video tutorial for all 10 cards. And like I said, all of the details can be found on my website. So without further ado, let's get our craft on. So like I said, we are going to be making a very fun Halloween themed card. You can see I've got some of the gorgeous colors that are part of the Toil and Trouble DSP. And we may use a little scrap of that. Just dig that out. So all of the coordinating colors, and this is a super fun pack of DSP. Doesn't have to be used just for Halloween. You can see I've got odds and sods. I was going to say bits and bytes, but that is something altogether different. So fun patterns. And this is a card that I just made for a weekly challenge site that I hop along with. So that has all of that DSP, and then it has a few of the adorable little characters from the Cauldron Bubble suite. So a lot of coloring on this one, but it's super fun. So that is in the holiday catalog. Now what we are going to do first is we are going to start with our sheet of Mango Melody with our Stamparatus. We're going to take this out because we're using a red rubber stamp, the Buffalo Check red rubber stamp. And I always place it about, let's go 2 and 2. I like to place it away from the edge because I don't want to have a gap in my background. So there we go, and I tend to put a little run of snail on the back of my paper so that it stays in place if I don't get a good impression, which is very possible, perhaps even probable with the Buffalo Check stamp. So just put a little run of adhesive on the back of that. We're going to use Mango Melody ink. Just ink it up. Now there is grid paper that is available for the Stamparatus. It's not a very good impression at all. Actually, we are going to flip this over because you can see that I don't have... No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it as is because I've got that adhesive on the back and I don't want to deal with that. Where was I going? Sorry, there's grid paper available now for the Stamparatus, so you can place an order for that. We'll just trim that part of it off. And you could ink it up as many times as you like. I'm actually liking this kind of distressed look here. So I'll call that finished and grab a baby wipe for this. I like to wipe off the bulk of it before I take it to the chamois because that's quite a bit of ink that I'd rather not have stuck in my chamois. And this tip seems rather obvious, but I always keep my chamois in a clear mount case. I've actually got a label there. If you order a chamois from me, you will get a clear case and this label. But when I've used a wipe that I'm not quite ready to throw out, I just put it on the open, empty side of my chamois case because I've got paper everywhere. I don't want to be getting any of it wet, and I don't want to get the ink that is on my wipe anywhere else. So wipe that off. And this wipe has pretty much done its job, so we could just throw it out, but I'll keep it there just in case I just need a quick wipe of something. Set this aside so that it can dry. Sorry, I seem to have a frog in my throat. It might be one of these little cuties. Ha ha ha. On a personal note, you might not know this about me, but I do love a good pun. And at work, I am known for being a teller of dad jokes. So I just trimmed a bit off of that. And I've got a very well used piece of grid paper over here, and I used some embossing paste on that card that I just showed you. So we're just going to flip this over and use this part of the paper where there's no embossing paste to mess anything up. And I'm going to grab just a black marker pen. This is Micro Perm by Sakura. And we are going to draw some lines. You could definitely use a Sharpie or any black marker that you have. This just happens to be the one that I had within arm's reach. We are going to grab a Sharpie. Don't like that line at all. So in a video that I did a couple weeks ago, I showed you how you can modify your buffalo check background by drawing some extra lines on it. This certainly stretches its use. And so far there is no color that this buffalo check doesn't look good with. So experiment, put colors that you would never think of putting together on a card. The best part about using a Sharpie is that it doesn't run and bleed underneath. With other markers, I have to have a Kleenex right there so that I can wipe up any runoff. So we could leave it like this, but it looks a little too stark that way. We could go on that line, we can go on that line. I'm just going to continue going on the striped portion of it. Isn't that fun? Just really changes it up. The buffalo check stamp is gorgeous on its own, but I love the versatility of being able to add extra lines and really change that pattern. So there is our background, and we are using an A2 basic black card base, so we'll set those two aside for now. In typical Ashley fashion, this is something that I have in my head. It is not something I have actually put onto paper yet, so it's another fly by the seat of our pants design. Sometimes they're my best, sometimes we have to start from scratch. So I've brought in Granny Apple Green and Gorgeous Grape. We could also use something from the DSP to add a little bit of something to this. We could still use these papers, or we could use it in place of. I don't want to have too many patterns, but there's this fun one too, so I think we'll keep some of that out. I'm going to use this little scrap of paper. I just keep my DSP in these little Ziploc bags. It keeps it all together. I know some keep them in the bag that they originally came in. I do not. What am I looking for? I want some clear embossing powder. We are going to start off by doing our bats. I actually have a couple here that we could use, but we'll go through this process in case this is your first time here. So grabbing our Versamark, I'm going to turn on my heat gun now. Look at the depth that gives it. So if you saw that part with me using the little paintbrush, it's because I hadn't used my embossing buddy and I pressed a little too hard right here, so the powder was sticking there. You can just take a you can take a dry paintbrush and just brush it away before you set it. It's quite easy to get it gone before you go any further. Now, so start with the thick, solid image and do that first. Because if you don't, you are going to have a heck of a time seeing through it to get your shadow in the right place after. Now, while we have the memento out, we are going to use one of these little skulls too. We'll put that just right there. Oh, good thing that was the back side. Squeak, squeak, squeak. So we'll put the lid on this. We are going to grab basic gray, because if we try and do smoky slate on here, it's going to be a very pale shadow. You could definitely use your Stamparatus to line this up. Sorry if my head is in the way. This is the only way I'm going to be able to line this up. So there we go. That will lighten as it dries. But by all means, do it on whatever color you like. That's looking better. So this is a super fun set. Got thanks, Merry Christmas, cheers to New Year, boo, and then a few really great little icon type images. So our bats are now ready to be punched. Wanted to give them a couple minutes to dry. Now, I keep a Post-it out just for this reason. When I stamped this, I was thinking it needed to go close to the bottom, but it doesn't. It needs to go close to the top. So put a Post-it on there to help you guide it. Find your sticky side. So we have 3 little bats. Just take that piece of the Post-it note off of that one. That will go on here. Now we need to add some color to this because right now it's a little too plain. So we've got all of these different colors. We could add a bunch of different strips. We can also do some tone-on-tone stamping on these to lighten them up a little bit, but I think we're going to use a little strip of this. And it has some super fun ghosts on the other side. So we could use either, but I'm feeling this is going to get a little pattern heavy very quickly. So we've got this fun little one, and it adds a little bit of bright without too much. Now, the other punch that coordinates with this is the Twinkle Builder. You can see in here there are some stars. Well, there's that star. So we could definitely do some stars. Probably out of that paper would be great. So let's see if we can punch some that are just stars. And usually what happens is when there's coordinating DSP, the punches will line up, but you can see there's no giant star. So I'm going to try and save some of the scraps that I used for another card, just so that I'm not cutting into the middle of this DSP and using paper that I could use for another project. So just getting a couple of these little stars. You can also just cut them out of colored DSP, any of the yellow or whatever color you want, really. That ought to be enough. So I'm just going to tear those off because they will get caught on everything in that bag. So now we can assemble, and what I am going to do is we're going to banner some of these ends, and I like to use my tailored tag punch to get a smaller banner. This one we will cut on an angle. I don't want to have 3 banners all in a row. This one will be interesting to see if we get too close to the skull. Nope. So let's deconstruct here. Get our card base, get our adhesive. This one's almost done. Don't need much. You can offset that if you'd like. So I'm just trying to have it where I don't have the orange peeking through there, and it's between 2 of the lines. We'll pop this up on dimensionals. Another little somewhat obvious trick is keeping a little container like this near your workspace, it's easy to catch all of these little bits that tend to make your craft space messy. And it's not too big that it takes up a lot of room. That was just Dollar Tree. Love me my Dollar Tree. Now you could stamp something on there. I'm just wondering if we should. There's that fun, whatever this is, clouds, dust. Let's add a little bit. We will use basic gray. Let's stamp it off first to make sure that it's not going to be too dark. Now, because I don't have a dimensional in the middle there, it's not stamping. That's what happens when you decide something after you've already adhered it. But I felt like it needed a little something. Otherwise, those bats just look like they're floating in the middle of nothing and nowhere. We still have our little stars to adhere. So let's get our take your pick tool with that putty end. Just grab that, put a little dot of glue, and now the glue is holding it. Oh boy. And let's see if these stars are still gonna work. They will if we put them on there. They'll get lost if we put them on the Mango Melody background. This is a competition about who's stickier, and the glue is winning. But this is great for picking it up off the table. Now I can see I've got some glue seeping out, so I'm just going to use my paper piercing tool and wipe it off before it smears, because I am going to put a block on here again to let it set. You want to be careful with your take your pick tool that you don't tighten it too much, or the putty will just keep coming and it will be wasted. Just cleaning up a little bit. So you can see we didn't end up using our solid colors. It was fun to have those little bit of DSP pieces in there. Now you can see I don't have a lot of this DSP, so what I did was, with my larger team, my upline and her upline and all of the sidelines, we did a holiday paper sampler, and I'm just going to grab that to show you. So what we did was the team leader purchased all of the paper packs, and we all contributed. This was an idea that I saw from Rhonda Wade, so created the sheets. So this is the All Is Bright Designer Series paper. So we just took these squares, and this is the coordinated, like this is the front, this is the back, or side A, side B, for all of the different paper packs. So it tells you the coordinating colors, it tells you the item number. So if you are coming to one of my classes and you want to feel this flocked paper before you order it, you can. So super fun. Love the foil on this one. The frosted floral is quite unexpected. It's very thin and it's got that pearlized sheen. Country Lane, and then the Toil and Trouble. So this is how I have that little bit of paper, because there was some leftovers that we split up at the end. So it's very fun. A great way if you are a demonstrator and want to be able to get your hands on some of the designer series paper and showcase how it works to your customers. This was a great project. I have just attached mine with binder rings, but you could put it in a duotang or anything. So it was very fun, and that's how I have that little bit of DSP. It was a fun try it before you buy it kind of idea, because I would have never bought that paper. But it was super cute. So that is our card for this week. I'm glad I hope, if you're still here, thank you for sticking around through that gong show. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if this is your first time here and you've made it this far, I promise you my videos are not all this long and not all this fly by the seat of my pants. But I thank you for sticking around, and I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button below. Thanks, friends. Bye.